I want to talk to you about last week's learning experience in the Photoshop Learn activities grades that I took. So starting off with Photoshop, the one thing I wanted you to do was just kind of figure out what the program offers and how to get in and out of it. So I assigned Intro to Photoshop tutorial with form, where the previous teacher kind of explained the layout of Photoshop. And I also assigned Photoshop 20 Things Learned activity, which could go along with that, or it could go along with just your own personal exploration of Photoshop. So basically you just list 20 things you learned while exploring Photoshop or while listening to the tutorial about Photoshop. That first day that I watched you guys, I saw that you were getting into this Photoshop Learn panel and doing some activities and really enjoying it, finding out how to get around Photoshop and what its functions do. So I went through those Learn exercises and I was like, you know what we could do? I could make use of their interest in this. I could make sure that the Photoshop Learn tools are learned. So I need to come up with a form or worksheet that they can just answer questions, and I'll let them still explore at their own pace, but now they're answering questions about the tools they learned, so they're getting notes that they can maybe utilize later, and they're still getting to explore those Learn exercises. So that was the idea. So I broke them down into pieces, 1 through 5, 6 through 12, and 13 on, and then was going to let you just explore at your own pace. What I discovered after I set you off on this assignment was that it wasn't accomplishing the goal that I hoped it would. I saw some excited learners turn into like wilting flowers because there were some go-getter students who they would try to answer every question perfectly. And as they were asking me questions about those questions, I realized some of those questions were awkwardly worded. It seemed like, well, they were worded as I would have if I were having a discussion with you, and then you'd understand a little bit better in the context, but not having me there talking with you was kind of awkward. So there were other students who were like, well, I can't find the answer to this question, but I got to get through this, so I'm just going to skip that part. And they would just skip the parts that they couldn't find, which is a very nice, productive way to do stuff. If you can't find it, don't let that hang you up. Just move on. And then there were others that were like, I can't find this. I can't find this. This is dull and boring. This is just, no, I'm lost. And I get that because it's hard enough to figure out how to get through that little panel tutorial, but then also to have a long list of questions along the side. I get that. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Those assignments weren't accomplishing the goals that I had hoped they would. So I decided to make each assignment a little segment of a grade. So 1 through 5 is 20 points, 6 through 12 is another 20, 13 on is 10 points, and then it all goes into one grade. And I decided to grade pretty light on that. But after grading that, I went back and looked at the Photoshop 20 Things Learned grade, and a lot of people had overlooked that. Like there were a lot of missing Photoshop 20 Things Learned. And that was a really easy assignment. You just list 20 things. But I feel like that, on top of this, and this, and this, and this, I can see how you missed that. So what I decided to do is between this grade and this grade, I will take the best grade. So I'll excuse the one, if you forgot Photoshop's 20 Things Learned, I'll excuse it. And if you didn't get through much of this and this grade is higher, then I'll excuse this. And I'll still have the option, as I told you before, where throughout this week, if you go back and you learn these activities and want to submit for a higher grade, turn in that late assignment sheet. That doesn't penalize you. It just tells me I need to check back at that assignment. So consider that. And the main reason I would like you to go ahead and finish these out is I want you to explore that tutorial and really learn these tools because it's going to help you with utilizing them as you're producing products. Photoshop 20 Things Learned is the best way, I would say, because you can go through those Photoshop Learn tutorials and just list what you learn as you go through. So I encourage you to still do this if you have not, or if you got stuck, as you have spare time, and turn in the late assignment sheet to bring up your grade. But you can check your grade in Skyward. If you did something, you should be passing, so you shouldn't be too disappointed in your grade. And I just didn't want to cancel the assignment because I wanted you to learn those tools, but I also wanted those students who really persevered through it to get rewarded for all their hard work. So not canceled, but best grade of these chosen and excused, and I apologize. In the future, I'll choose better methods of helping you learn those tools, trying to be more effective. That's why I put questions in Google Class to ask you and get feedback so we can figure out the best way for you to learn this in the future. Okay. That said, classwork takes priority. So there was one thing over the past week that made me feel like maybe you guys need more work. Maybe I need to give you more, because there were some students who were playing games, and other students had different sites pulled up that weren't the least bit related to what we were doing. So I want to clarify again the expectation. When you're finished, you need to check over your work to see that it's good work. If I see somebody off of what we're supposed to be focusing on the whole class, when I check their work, I'm expecting it to be A status. Check Google Class to see that you're really done. So a lot of times you may be done with one part, but there's another part in Google Class. You need to check and make sure that you don't overlook that. In addition, you have to have your completed work up so I can verify when I come around. So if I find you on work for another class or a game or something, you need to be able to quick click to that screen when I come around and show me, this is all my work, it's done, and I won't bother you. However, if it's not done, then you are not utilizing your time wisely, and that's when the behavior reflection comes around. So, in addition, if you finish early, remember that others did not. So consider others around you. One of the best ways to socialize when you're finished is by helping those out who are stuck on something. So you can look around, check with your peers, see if there's anybody who wants extra input on a project they're working on, or just to know how to do a certain skill that you've already gotten through. That's a great way to utilize that time. Calling out across the class and stuff disrupts the work environment of those who are still trying to focus. So even when you're done, the expectation is volume level 1, whisper audio, so that those who are working can still stay focused and work and not get pulled away by the distractions of what you're doing. Okay, hope this helps. Let's have a good week.